Your English problem may not be English. It may be the invisible ritual your brain performs before every sentence. Someone asks you a simple question. You understand it. You know the vocabulary. You have studied the grammar. But instead of answering, your mind freezes. First, you search for an idea. Then you build the sentence in your own language. Then you translate it. Then you check the grammar. Then you worry about pronunciation. By the time your sentence is ready, the conversation has already moved on. That delay does not mean you are unintelligent. It does not mean you are bad at languages. It means your brain has been trained to treat English like a school subject instead of a living system. A person who drives automatically does not consciously calculate every movement of the steering wheel. A musician does not name every note before the fingers move. A skilled typist does not search the keyboard letter by letter. Automatic performance appears when the brain stops solving the same small problem from the beginning every single time. Speaking English works the same way. Fluency is not created by knowing the largest number of rules. Fluency is created when common thoughts, sentence patterns, sounds, and responses become fast enough to appear without a long internal meeting. The goal is not to remove thinking. The goal is to move the thinking to an earlier stage, during training, so that speaking becomes easier in the real moment. Imagine that your brain contains thousands of narrow paths. Every time you translate, you strengthen the path from meaning to your first language, and then from your first language to English. Every time you connect meaning directly to English, you strengthen a shorter path. At first, the shorter path feels weak. You hesitate. You make mistakes. You feel as if your brain has nothing to hold. But every correct repetition makes that path wider, faster, and easier to use. This is why some learners study English for 10 years and still struggle to answer, while another learner becomes conversational in 2 or 3 years. The difference is not always talent. Often, it is the type of repetition. One person repeats explanations, the other repeats performance. In this training, you are not going to collect random vocabulary and hope fluency magically appears. You are going to train the exact mental processes that fluent speaking requires. You will learn how to stop translating every thought. You will build sentence reflexes. You will practice retrieving language under pressure. You will turn your inner voice into an English training partner. You will connect listening directly to speaking. You will remove the fear that interrupts your language. And finally, you will build a daily system that makes English increasingly automatic. But you must accept one uncomfortable truth before we begin. You cannot think your way into automatic speaking. You have to train your way into it. Reading about swimming does not make the body comfortable in water. Watching exercise videos does not make the muscles stronger. Understanding how fluency works is useful, but understanding is only the doorway. Repetition changes the brain. So throughout this script, do not listen passively. When you hear a question, answer it. When you hear a pattern, repeat it. When you hear a sentence that matches your life, change it and make it yours. Speak even when your answer feels simple. Speak even when your grammar is not perfect. Speak before your inner critic finishes preparing its complaint. The version of you that speaks automatically will not be created by one dramatic breakthrough. It will be created by hundreds of small moments in which you choose direct English instead of translation, useful patterns instead of isolated words, action instead of overthinking, and repetition instead of waiting for confidence. The brain becomes efficient at whatever it does repeatedly. If you repeatedly hesitate, hesitation becomes efficient. If you repeatedly translate, translation becomes efficient. If you repeatedly remain silent because you are afraid of mistakes, silence becomes efficient. But if you repeatedly connect a real thought to a clear English sentence, that connection becomes efficient too. That is the opportunity in front of you. Your current speaking speed is not a permanent identity. It is the result of your current training. Change the training, and the brain begins to change with it. You do not need a new brain. You need to give your brain a new job. Chapter 1. Build the direct path from meaning to English. The first habit you must challenge is the belief that every English sentence needs permission from your first language. Most learners do not notice translation because it happens very quickly. You see a cup, think of the word for cup in your language, remember the English word, and then speak. For a single object, the delay may be tiny, but during a real conversation, the process becomes expensive. You are not translating one word. You are translating ideas, emotions, grammar, tone, and social meaning at the same time. The solution is not to force yourself never to use your first language again. That would be unrealistic and unnecessary. Your first language is not the enemy. The problem is dependence. You want the ability to connect a situation directly with English, especially in common parts of daily life. Start with objects and actions that surround you. When you pick up your phone, do not silently name it in your first language. Say, I am checking my phone. When you open a door, say, I am opening the door. When you feel tired, say, I need a break. When you cannot find something, say, where did I put it? These sentences are simple, but simplicity is useful because your goal is not to impress anyone. Your goal is to build a direct mental route. The brain learns through association. If the English phrase, I need a break, repeatedly appears at the exact moment you feel tired, the phrase becomes attached to the feeling itself. Later, you do not need to translate the feeling. The English sentence begins to arrive with it. This is how children learn much of their first language. They do not begin with definitions. They connect words with people, objects, actions, needs, and repeated situations. Adult learners can use the same principle while also benefiting from conscious understanding. Choose 5 parts of your day that happen almost every day. Perhaps waking up, making tea, traveling to work, using your computer, and preparing for sleep. Create a small group of English sentences for each situation. For waking up, you might use, I did not sleep enough. I need to get up. What time is it? I have a busy day. And let me wake up properly. For work, you might use, I need to finish this first. I am waiting for a reply. This is taking longer than expected. I will deal with it later. And I need more information. Do not create 50 sentences at once. Automaticity grows through concentration, not chaos. Select 10 useful sentences and use them for several days. Say them in the real situations where they belong. Change small details. I am waiting for a reply can become, I am waiting for an email. I am waiting for my friend. I am waiting for the payment. Or, I am waiting for the meeting to start. Notice what you are doing. You are not memorizing a frozen line. You are teaching the brain a flexible relationship between a pattern and a meaning. A major mistake is to practice English only when you sit down to study. That teaches the brain that English belongs to a special place and a special time. Then, during daily life, your first language remains the automatic system. To make English available in conversation, bring English into ordinary moments. Describe what is happening without trying to sound advanced. The room is quiet. The fan is making noise. The internet is slow. I cannot concentrate. Someone is calling me. I left my keys upstairs. These are not glamorous sentences, but they are the material of real thought. Fluency is built from thousands of ordinary connections. You can also train direct meaning through images. Look at a picture for 30 seconds and describe only what you can see. Do not search for perfect words. Use what you know. There are 2 people near a car. One person is holding a bag. It looks cold. Maybe they are waiting for someone. The phrase, maybe they are, is especially useful because it allows you to continue without being certain. When you do not know a word, do not immediately escape into your first language. Describe around it. Suppose you forget the word screwdriver. You can say, "It is a tool you use to turn a screw." If you forget receipt, say, "The paper they give you after you pay." This skill is not a weak substitute for vocabulary. It is a central fluency skill. Native speakers also describe around missing words. Fluent speakers do not know every word. They know how to keep the message alive. To strengthen direct thinking, ask yourself simple questions and answer immediately. What am I doing? What do I need? What happened today? What am I worried about? What should I do next? Give yourself 3 seconds. Your first answer may be basic. That is acceptable. Speed first, improvement second. For example, ask, "What should I do next?" You might answer, "I should finish this work." Then expand, "I should finish this work before lunch because I have another task in the afternoon." Then change the time, "I should finish this tonight." Change the reason, "I should finish this because someone is waiting for it." Change the attitude, "I do not want to finish it, but I need to." One thought has now produced several English sentences. This is brain training because you are repeating the same meaning network with small variations. Another powerful exercise is the 1-minute room. Stand in any room and speak about it for 1 minute. At first, name what you see. Then say what you use each object for. Then say what you like or dislike. Then connect the room to a memory. In a kitchen, you might begin, "There is a small table near the window. I usually sit there in the morning. The kitchen is not very large, but it is practical. Yesterday I made tea and forgot about it. When I came back, it was cold." The room gives you concrete support, and your brain learns to move from perception to English without translation. Do not stop every time you make a mistake. Constant self-correction teaches the brain to interrupt itself. During a fluency exercise, keep going. After the exercise, choose 1 or 2 mistakes to improve. Separate performance from correction. When athletes practice a complete movement, they do not freeze halfway through every time one muscle is imperfect. They complete the action and then adjust. You can use a 2-round method. In the first round, speak for 1 minute without stopping. In the second round, repeat the same topic more clearly. Because the ideas are already available, your brain has more space for grammar and vocabulary. You will often notice that the second version feels dramatically easier. That experience teaches an important lesson. Difficulty is not always caused by poor English. Sometimes it is caused by trying to create ideas and language at the same moment. Direct thinking also requires emotional language. Many learners can describe objects, but return to translation when expressing feelings. Build a practical emotional vocabulary, not just happy, sad, and angry, but sentences such as, "I feel left out," "I am relieved," "I am disappointed with myself," "I am not in the mood," "I feel under pressure," "I am getting impatient," and "I do not know how to explain what I feel." Attach these sentences to real emotional moments. When you feel relieved, say, "I am relieved that it is over." When you are annoyed, say, "This is starting to annoy me." When you are uncertain, say, "I am not sure what to do." The emotional connection makes the language memorable because the brain pays attention to experiences that matter. Direct English does not mean your thoughts must become shallow. At the beginning, your English thoughts will be simpler than your thoughts in your first language. That can feel frustrating. You may feel less intelligent in English. Do not confuse limited expression with limited intelligence. You are building a new channel. A narrow channel cannot carry the full river immediately. Instead of waiting until you can express a complicated idea perfectly, express the simple core. Suppose your real thought is, "I am frustrated because people keep changing their expectations without giving me enough information." If that is difficult, begin with, "I am frustrated." They keep changing what they want. They do not explain it clearly. The meaning is still strong. Later, you can combine the sentences. This principle protects you from paralysis. Simple English spoken now is more useful than sophisticated English trapped inside your head. Another reason translation survives is that learners consume English with translation attached. They read an English sentence, then immediately check the meaning in their language. This can be useful for accuracy, but if it becomes the only method, English never learns to stand alone. After checking a new phrase, return to the English and create an image, a situation, or a personal example. Take the phrase, "I ended up." You might learn that it means a final result that was not necessarily planned. Do not stop at the definition. Say, "I planned to stay home, but I ended up going out. We took the wrong road and ended up near the airport. I started watching one video and ended up watching 10. Now the phrase is connected to situations, not just a translation. Use English definitions for familiar words. You do not need a dictionary definition. Explain the word with simpler English. A deadline is the final time when something must be finished. A habit is something you do regularly, often without thinking. Awkward means uncomfortable in a social situation. This teaches your brain to move within English rather than leaving English to understand English. At the end of each day, perform a 3-minute replay. Close your eyes and remember the day in order. I woke up late. I checked my phone. I saw a message. I made breakfast. Then I had a problem with. Do not write first. Speak. If you cannot remember a word, simplify or describe it. The daily replay combines memory, sequence, past tense, and personal meaning. Because the story belongs to you, it is easier to remember than textbook content. Then add one reflection. The best part of my day was. The most difficult moment was. Tomorrow I need to. These repeated structures become automatic anchors. You are not trying to replace every thought in your mind with English from morning to night. That can become exhausting and artificial. You are creating regular windows of direct English, 5 minutes while getting ready, 3 minutes during a walk, 1 minute before opening your computer, a short replay before sleep. Consistency matters more than intensity. The direct path becomes stronger when English is attached to your actual life. Use the names of people you know, the problems you face, the plans you have, and the decisions you need to make. I need to call Ahmed. I should ask my manager. I have to pay this tomorrow. I do not agree with that decision. Personal language is easier to retrieve because the meaning is already active in your brain. Now practice this sequence aloud. Look around and name 3 things. Describe 1 action. State 1 need. Express 1 feeling. Make 1 plan. For example, my laptop is on the table. There is a glass beside it. The window is open. I am listening to this lesson. I need to finish some work. I feel focused, but a little tired. After this, I am going to take a short break. That is not a classroom exercise. That is a miniature speaking system. Perception, action, need, emotion, and plan are 5 of the most common categories of human thought. When your brain can express them directly, English begins to feel less like translation and more like a usable mental tool. You will still translate sometimes. Do not turn that into failure. The goal is not purity. The goal is progress. Each direct sentence is 1 repetition for the new pathway. Your brain does not ask which language is morally better. It asks which pathway is most available. Make English available. Chapter 2. Turn sentence patterns into speaking reflexes. Vocabulary gives you pieces. Patterns teach you how the pieces move. Many learners collect thousands of words but still cannot speak smoothly because every sentence is treated as a new construction project. They choose a subject, search for a verb, remember a tense, place an article, check the order, and hope the sentence survives. This method is too slow for conversation. Fluent speakers rely heavily on ready-made language, not only fixed expressions such as, "How are you?" but flexible frames such as, "The reason I am not used to, it depends on, what I mean is, and I would rather." These frames reduce the number of decisions the brain must make. Think of a sentence pattern as a mental runway. Once you begin, the structure carries you forward. Take the pattern, "I am trying to." You can say, "I am trying to improve my English." "I am trying to save money." "I am trying to wake up earlier." "I am trying to understand what happened." The beginning remains stable, while the ending changes. Repeating the stable part creates automaticity, and changing the ending creates flexibility. The most useful patterns are not always advanced. They are patterns connected to common intentions. Human beings constantly explain, compare, request, refuse, agree, disagree, remember, predict, and react. Build patterns for those functions. For explaining a reason, use "the reason is." That is because. One reason might be, and the main thing is. For uncertainty, use "I am not completely sure, but, as far as I know, it seems like, and I could be wrong, but." For opinions, use "from my point of view." The way I see it, I tend to think, and I have mixed feelings about. When these openings become automatic, you do not begin every answer from silence. Practice patterns in groups of meaning, not random lists. Today you might train clarification. Use "What do you mean by?" "Do you mean that?" "Let me make sure I understand." So, you are saying that. And, "Could you explain that another way?" Tomorrow, train disagreement. Use "I see your point, but I am not sure I agree." That may be true, although I look at it differently, and I agree with part of that. This kind of training prepares you for real conversational jobs. A pattern becomes a reflex through repeated retrieval, not repeated reading. Looking at "I am used to" 20 times is weak practice. Closing the page and producing 5 personal sentences is stronger. "I am used to working late." "I am not used to this weather." "I am getting used to speaking on camera." "It took me time to get used to the schedule." You will get used to it. Notice that the pattern changes form. This variation strengthens the concept rather than memorizing one frozen sentence. Use a substitution drill, but make it meaningful. Begin with "I have been meaning to call you." Change the action. "I have been meaning to ask you something." Change the person. "I have been meaning to talk to my brother." Change the time reference. "I had been meaning to call you for weeks." Add a reason. "I have been meaning to call you because I need your advice." A good drill feels like controlled improvisation. The structure is safe, but the content moves. You can also create pattern ladders. Start with a short sentence and expand one step at a time. "I disagree." "I disagree with that." "I disagree with that decision." "I disagree with that decision because it creates more problems." "I disagree with that decision because it creates more problems than it solves." "I understand why they made it, but I disagree with that decision because it creates more problems than it solves." The ladder trains your brain to grow a sentence without losing control. It also shows that advanced speaking is often simple language arranged in layers. Another powerful technique is the answer skeleton. For common questions, prepare a structure rather than a complete script. Suppose someone asks, "Why are you learning English?" Your skeleton might be present goal, past difficulty, future benefit. You answer, "I am learning English because I want to communicate confidently at work. In the past, I avoided speaking because I translated everything. If I become fluent, I will have more professional opportunities." A different day, the details can change, but the skeleton remains. This gives you organization without making you sound memorized. Create skeletons for "Tell me about yourself." "What do you do?" "What did you do this weekend?" "What are you working on?" What is your opinion about this? And what are your plans? These questions appear constantly in conversations, interviews, meetings, and classes. Do not memorize one perfect answer for life. Memorize the movement of the answer. For example, an opinion skeleton can be position, reason, example, balance. I think remote work is useful because it saves commuting time. For example, people can use that time for family or exercise. However, it can also feel isolating, so a mixed system may work better. Once the movement becomes familiar, you can discuss hundreds of topics. Sentence patterns also help you recover when you lose your words. Learn repair phrases. Let me say that again. That is not exactly what I meant. I am looking for the right word. How can I put this? What I am trying to say is, I lost my train of thought. These phrases buy time while keeping you inside English. Many learners believe pauses reveal weakness, so they panic. Native speakers pause, restart, and repair constantly. The difference is that they have language for the pause. Use fillers carefully. Well, actually, basically, I mean, and you know, can make speech natural, but they should not replace content. Train them as bridges, not crutches. Say, well, I have not decided yet. Actually, I changed my mind. Basically, the problem is time. The filler supports the sentence because it is connected to a function. To develop reflexes, practice with a timer. Choose one pattern and speak for 60 seconds. Suppose the pattern is, one thing I have noticed is. You might say, one thing I have noticed is that I understand more English when I relax. One thing I have noticed is that I repeat the same grammar mistakes. One thing I have noticed is that I speak better in the morning. One thing I have noticed is that short daily practice helps me more than long practice once a week. The timer creates gentle pressure, and the repeated opening reduces the pressure enough for you to continue. Then use contrast. If the pattern is, I used to, but now, produce 10 contrasts from your life. I used to translate every sentence, but now I try to think directly. I used to avoid phone calls, but now I answer them. I used to study random words, but now I learn phrases. Personal contrast is memorable because it describes change. Questions need patterns too. Learners often practice statements and then struggle to keep a conversation alive. Train question families. How long have you? What made you? What do you like most about? What was the hardest part of? How did you deal with? What would you do if? Each question family opens a different type of answer. Practice both sides. Ask, what made you start learning English? Then answer it. Ask, what was the hardest part? Then answer it. Speaking both roles develops conversational prediction. You begin to recognize what kind of response a question requires. Use the same pattern across different time frames. I work from home. I worked from home yesterday. I have worked from home for 2 years. I will work from home tomorrow. I would work from home if I had the choice. You are not studying tense charts. You are moving one real idea through time. This is more effective because the meaning stays stable while the grammar changes. The brain can notice the difference. Pattern training should include negative forms. Learners often know how to say what they do, but hesitate when explaining what they do not do. Practice, I do not usually, I have not had a chance to, I am not interested in, I do not feel comfortable. I would not recommend, and I did not expect. Then include questions. Do you usually? Have you had a chance to? Would you recommend? Did you expect? This builds a complete network around the pattern. Another method is the 3-person switch. Speak about yourself, another person, and a group. I need more time. She needs more time. They need more time. I have been working on it. He has been working on it. We have been working on it. The exercise sounds basic, but it repairs common speaking weaknesses because it forces the brain to adjust grammar quickly while keeping the meaning clear. Next, use the tense camera. Imagine 3 cameras: past, present, and future. Choose one topic, such as exercise. Past. I started exercising last year. At first, I could only walk for 20 minutes. Present. Now I exercise 4 times a week. I feel stronger and more energetic. Future. Next month, I am going to increase the distance. I hope I can stay consistent. For the cameras give your speech direction. When a conversation asks about experience, current reality, or plans, your brain knows where to look. You should also train connectors because they turn separate sentences into flowing speech. Start with because, but, so, although, however. For example, in fact, as a result, and, on the other hand. Do not memorize definitions. Use each connector in a personal sentence. I wanted to go out, but I was too tired. I was too tired, so I stayed home. Although I was tired, I finished the work. I finished the work. However, I was not happy with the result. Connectors do more than improve style. They guide thinking. Because tells the brain to find a reason. For example, tells it to find evidence. However, tells it to introduce contrast. The word becomes a thinking command. This is why learning chunks is so powerful. A chunk contains grammar, meaning, and direction in one package. Build a personal pattern bank. Keep no more than 20 active patterns at one time. Divide them into 4 categories: starting an answer, developing an answer, managing difficulty, and ending an answer. To start, the first thing that comes to mind is, in my experience, it depends on the situation. I have never thought about that, but to develop, the main reason is that, for example, another thing is, what makes it difficult is, to manage difficulty. Let me think for a second. I am not sure how to explain it. What I mean is, I do not know the exact word, but to end. So that is how I see it. That is the main reason. Overall, I think, but I am still deciding. Use the bank daily until the phrases begin to appear without deliberate search. Do not chase novelty too quickly. Repetition feels boring to the conscious mind before it becomes valuable to the automatic system. The conscious mind says, I already know this phrase. The correct question is not, do I recognize it? The correct question is, can I produce it immediately while thinking about something else? Recognition is not reflex. To test a pattern, put it under pressure. Ask someone to give you a random topic, or use objects around you. Use the main reason is with work, food, travel, exercise, relationships, technology, and learning. If the pattern survives different topics, it is becoming flexible. You can also use a random word challenge. Choose a word such as rain and connect it to 5 patterns. One thing I like about rain is the sound. The problem with rain is the traffic. I am not used to driving in heavy rain. The last time it rained, I stayed home. If it rains tomorrow, I will cancel the plan. This turns vocabulary into speech. At the end of pattern practice, tell a 2-minute story using at least 5 of your active frames. Do not read them. Keep them nearby only as support. A story might begin, I had been meaning to fix my laptop for weeks. The main problem was that I kept delaying it. Eventually, I took it to a repair shop. What surprised me was that the issue was very small. I ended up paying less than I expected. The story brings patterns together in natural movement. Automatic speech is not a magical state where every sentence appears perfectly. It is a layered system. Some parts of the sentence are automatic, leaving mental energy for the new idea. The more useful openings, connectors, grammar frames, and repair phrases you automate, the more attention you can give to meaning. Your brain does not need to invent the road every time. Give it roads it can trust. Chapter 3. Train fast retrieval before you need it. You may know a word and still fail to use it. That is not a contradiction. Knowledge and retrieval are different abilities. A word can exist somewhere in your memory, yet remain unavailable during conversation. You recognize it when reading. You understand it when someone else says it. But when you need it, the mind feels empty. This happens because recognition is easier than recall, and calm recall is easier than recall under pressure. If you want fast speaking, you must practice pulling language out, not only putting language in. Imagine a library with thousands of books but no organized system. The information exists, but finding one book takes too long. Retrieval training builds the system. Begin with category sprints. Choose a category and name items for 30 seconds. Foods, jobs, emotions, household objects, actions, travel words, health words, or technology. Do not write. Speak. For food, rice, bread, chicken, soup, vegetables, spicy, sweet, boil, fry, order, menu, bill. You are activating a network, not testing intelligence. Then turn the words into phrases. Order food, check the menu, pay the bill, boil the rice, spicy chicken. Then turn the phrases into sentences. We ordered food because nobody wanted to cook. This progression moves vocabulary from storage toward use. Next, train opposites and associations. Say, expensive, then cheap. Say, accept, then refuse. Say, success, then failure. After that, make a sentence containing both. The first option is expensive, but the second one is cheap. Opposites strengthen access because the brain stores many concepts in relationships. Use verb networks. Choose one common verb, such as take. Produce phrases: take a break, take a seat, take a risk, take responsibility, take notes, take time, take a picture, take medicine. Then create a short story using several. I took a break, took some medicine, and then took notes during the meeting. Common verbs create enormous speaking power when combined with natural partners. This is why learning collocations matters. A learner may know decision and do, but fluent English usually says, make a decision. The brain must retrieve words together. Learn, make progress, pay attention, keep a promise, raise a question, solve a problem, and reach an agreement as units. When you practice retrieval, use a short time limit. Pressure should be low but real. Give yourself 3 seconds to answer a simple question. What did you eat? What are you wearing? What is the weather like? What are you doing later? The goal is not a beautiful answer. The goal is immediate movement. If you cannot answer in 3 seconds, use a starter phrase. Let me think. I am not sure, but... The first thing that comes to mind is... These phrases prevent the freeze from becoming silence. A freeze often begins because the brain tries to retrieve the best possible sentence. Remove the demand for best. Ask for available. Your first sentence can be rough. Once language starts moving, the next sentence becomes easier. Practice the 5-answer drill. Ask one question and give 5 different answers without stopping. What do you do when you feel stressed? Answer 1. I go for a walk. Answer 2. Sometimes I listen to music. Answer 3. I talk to someone I trust. Answer 4. I try to finish the most urgent task. Answer 5. If I am very tired, I sleep. The drill teaches your brain that there is not one correct response hidden behind a locked door. There are many possible responses. This reduces perfectionism and improves flexibility. Use rapid choices. Ask yourself, tea or coffee? Answer and give a reason. Tea, because coffee makes me restless. City or countryside? Countryside, because I prefer quiet places. Morning or night? Night, because I can concentrate better. Then reverse your answer and defend the other side. This forces fast adaptation. Another retrieval exercise is the word-to-story challenge. Choose 3 random words, such as bus, wallet, and rain. Tell a 1-minute story containing all 3. Last week, I was on a bus when I realized I could not find my wallet. It was raining, so I did not want to get off. The story does not need to be true. The random words force the brain to search and connect. To make it more practical, use 3 real words from your day. Manager, deadline, mistake. Tell what happened. Personal relevance increases retrieval strength. Train paraphrasing every day. Take 1 sentence and express the same meaning in 3 ways. I am very tired. I have no energy. I need to rest. This day has exhausted me. Paraphrasing makes your speaking resilient. If one path is blocked, another path remains open. Use definitions as retrieval practice. Pick an object without saying its name. It is a small device that controls the television from a distance. This activates features, functions, and categories. When you forget a word in conversation, these connections help you describe it. Memory becomes faster when it is organized around questions. Instead of studying the word appointment alone, connect it to prompts. When is your appointment? Who is the appointment with? Why did you make the appointment? Did you cancel the appointment? Questions create retrieval routes. Do the same with phrases. For run out of, ask, what have you run out of recently? Answer, I ran out of milk. What might you run out of during a trip? I might run out of money or phone battery. The phrase becomes attached to situations. A major problem is that learners practice vocabulary in the order it appears in a book. The brain then remembers the sequence instead of independent access. Shuffle your material. If you always review book, table, chair, window, the word chair may be tied to table. In conversation, no textbook sequence appears to help you. Randomize questions, patterns, and topics. Use cards, a random number generator, or a list you jump through unpredictably. Retrieval becomes stronger when the brain cannot guess what comes next. Spacing is equally important. Saying a phrase 20 times in 1 minute can create temporary fluency. Using it today, tomorrow, 3 days later, and 1 week later creates durable access. The brain strengthens memories when it is asked to retrieve them after some forgetting has begun. This means a little difficulty is good. If the answer appears instantly because you just read it, the memory receives a weak training signal. If you struggle for 2 seconds and then retrieve it, the signal is stronger. Do not confuse effort with failure. Productive struggle is part of memory. However, do not let struggle become a 10-minute battle. If you cannot retrieve the phrase, check it, say it correctly, make a personal example, and test it again later. Fast correction prevents the wrong form from being repeated. Create an active vocabulary rule. A word is not active because you understand it. A word becomes active when you can use it quickly in at least 3 different sentences and 1 question. Take avoid. I avoid checking my phone in the morning. He avoided answering the question. We should avoid making the same mistake. What do you usually avoid? This gives the word grammatical and conversational range. For nouns, add verbs and adjectives. A difficult decision, make a decision, change a decision, regret a decision. What influenced your decision? For adjectives, add situations. Reliable person, reliable information, reliable service. Why is reliability important? This is more useful than memorizing isolated definitions because speech retrieves networks. You can train retrieval through delayed repetition. Listen to a short sentence, wait 5 seconds, and repeat it without looking. Then wait 10 seconds and repeat it again. Next, change 1 detail. I was supposed to call him yesterday. After the delay, I was supposed to finish it yesterday. The delay forces memory to work. Try backward building for long sentences. Suppose the target is, I would have called you earlier if I had known you were waiting. Begin with, "You were waiting." Then, "If I had known you were waiting." Then add, "I would have called you earlier." Backward building makes the end stable and reduces overload. Fast retrieval also depends on sound. Sometimes you know the written word but cannot access it in speech because its sound pattern is weak. Say new phrases aloud, not only silently. Record them. Notice stress and rhythm. "I should have told you" often becomes smoother in natural speech than each separate dictionary word. The mouth needs its own memory. Use micro-repetitions. Repeat a phrase 5 times naturally, then place it into 3 sentences. I should have called, I should have checked, I should have been more careful. The repetition strengthens the sound sequence, while the sentences strengthen meaning. Do not repeat like a machine with no attention. Each time, imagine the situation, regret a missed call, regret not checking, regret being careless. Emotion and image make retrieval more powerful. Train under increasing pressure. First answer alone with no timer, then answer with a 5-second limit. Then record yourself, then answer while walking, then use the phrase in a conversation. Gradual pressure teaches the brain that the language remains available in different conditions. This matters because learners often practice in one quiet environment and expect perfect performance everywhere. But memory is influenced by context. Speaking in front of a person, during a phone call, or in a meeting creates more mental load. You need to expose your English to manageable forms of that load. Use the interruption drill. Speak about a topic for 2 minutes. Every 20 seconds, change direction using a prompt: past, reason, example, problem, solution, future. You might speak about learning English. Start with your current routine, then move to the past. Give a reason, add an example. Describe a problem, offer a solution, end with the future. The drill develops retrieval while your attention shifts. Real conversations do not move in straight lines. People interrupt, ask questions, and introduce new details. Another useful method is the missing word drill. Tell a story, but deliberately replace one important word with a description. I went to the place where you send packages. I cannot remember the word right now. Then continue. This trains emotional tolerance for forgetting. The brain learns that one missing word does not destroy the conversation. Build retrieval around your real speaking needs. If you work in customer service, practice explaining delays, apologizing, clarifying information, and offering solutions. If you study, practice summarizing ideas, asking questions, comparing theories, and giving opinions. If you travel, practice directions, bookings, problems, and requests. Generic English builds a base. Specific English creates confidence. Make a list of 20 situations in which you want faster English. Not topics, but situations. Introducing myself in a meeting. Explaining why a task is late. Calling a hotel. Joining a group conversation. Answering an unexpected question. For each situation, identify 5 phrases, 3 likely questions, and 1 short story. Then practice them randomly. Do not always begin with the same situation. Your brain must learn access, not sequence. At the end of a retrieval session, do a no-notes test. Speak for 3 minutes using the day's vocabulary and patterns. Afterward, write down what you could not retrieve. Those gaps become tomorrow's training. This creates a feedback loop based on real performance rather than guesswork. Fast English is not the ability to speak at maximum speed. It is the ability to access useful language without unnecessary delay. A calm, clear sentence produced in 2 seconds is more fluent than a rushed, confusing sentence produced in 1. The goal is not to make your mouth faster than your mind. The goal is to make the path from meaning to language shorter, stronger, and easier to enter. Every time you retrieve instead of reread, you organize the library. Every time you answer before you feel perfectly ready, you weaken the freeze. Every time you paraphrase instead of giving up, you create another exit. Train access, and your knowledge will finally begin to behave like a speaking skill. Chapter 4. Rewire your inner voice in English. You speak to yourself more than you speak to anyone else. That private voice comments on your day, predicts problems, remembers conversations, judges decisions, and plans what happens next. If that voice operates only in your first language, English remains something you perform occasionally. If you train part of that inner voice in English, the language begins to enter your thinking system. This does not mean forcing every thought into English. Your mind is not a prison that needs language rules. The goal is to create deliberate English thinking periods that gradually become more natural. Start with short, practical self-talk. Before beginning a task, say, "What do I need to do?" Then answer, "First, I need to open the file. Then I need to check the numbers. After that, I will send the message." This is useful because planning language repeats every day. When something goes wrong, narrate the problem. The page is not loading. Maybe the internet is slow. I will refresh it. If that does not work, I will restart the router. The situation provides meaning, and English becomes the language of action. Use your inner voice to make choices. Should I do this now or later? If I do it now, I will feel better. I do not have much energy, but it will only take 10 minutes. Decision language develops conditionals, reasons, and emotions without needing a textbook exercise. A powerful method is the morning preview. Before your day begins, speak for 3 minutes about what you expect. Today I have 2 important tasks. I need to call a client before noon. I also want to exercise in the evening. The difficult part may be staying focused because I did not sleep well. At night, compare the preview with reality. I planned to call before noon, but the meeting lasted longer than expected. I finally called at 2. I did not exercise, although I took a short walk. This creates a natural loop of future, past, contrast, and reflection. Your inner voice can also rehearse conversations. Suppose you need to ask your manager for more time. Do not memorize a speech word for word. Rehearse possibilities. You. Could I have one more day to finish the report? Manager. Why do you need more time? You. I received the final data later than expected, and I want to check the figures properly. Manager. Can you send part of it today? You. Yes, I can send the summary today and the complete version tomorrow. This simulation reduces surprise. Your brain prepares language for several directions, not one perfect script. Do the same before a phone call, appointment, interview, class, or social event. Ask, what might they say? What might they ask? How could I respond? This is not overthinking if it is brief and practical. It is mental rehearsal. Athletes rehearse movements. Musicians rehearse performances. Speakers rehearse messages. You can rehearse English interaction. However, do not allow rehearsal to become a fantasy of perfection. The real conversation will be different. Your goal is to prepare building blocks and emotional readiness, not control every word. One of the most useful forms of inner English is commentary on your own attention. I am getting distracted. I keep checking my phone. I need to focus for 15 minutes. I am avoiding this because it feels difficult. These sentences train language that is deeply connected to self-awareness. When a phrase describes a repeated personal experience, it becomes easy to remember. You may forget a random textbook sentence about a museum, but you will remember, "I keep putting this off," if procrastination is a real problem in your life. Turn repeated thoughts into English anchors. If you often think, "I do not have enough time," learn several versions. "I am running out of time." "I need to manage my time better." "I have too much to do." "I am trying to do everything at once." "I need to decide what matters most." Now one recurring thought becomes a vocabulary network. Use self-questions to deepen your English. Instead of only saying what happened, ask why it happened. Why did I react like that? What was I expecting? What could I do differently next time? Then answer honestly in simple language. For example, I became annoyed because I thought they were ignoring me. Maybe they were just busy. Next time, I should ask before making an assumption. This kind of reflection produces meaningful language with cause, uncertainty, and future action. English becomes automatic faster when it carries genuine thought. Another technique is internal retelling. After a conversation in your first language, retell the main idea in English. Do not translate every sentence, summarize. My friend called me about a problem at work. He is thinking about leaving his job because the environment has become stressful. I told him not to decide while he is angry. This trains idea transfer rather than word-for-word translation. After watching a video or reading an article, close it and explain the main point to yourself. The video argued that sleep affects memory. The speaker gave 3 reasons. The most interesting one was, retrieval and summarizing force your English to organize information. Do not judge your summary by whether it sounds like the original. Judge it by whether the meaning is clear. Your inner voice should sometimes be conversational, not formal. Many learners build English from essays and grammar exercises, so their internal English sounds stiff. Train everyday reactions. That was close. I did not expect that. Here we go again. This makes no sense. I am glad I checked. That is probably enough. I cannot be bothered right now. Let us see what happens. Natural reactions are short and emotionally connected, which makes them easy to automate. Use them when the real moment occurs. If you nearly forget something, say, "That was close." If you discover a mistake, say, "I am glad I checked." The phrase and event fuse together. Inner speech can train pronunciation too. Do not only think silently. Whisper or speak softly when possible. Silent language may hide weak sound patterns. When you say the sentence, the mouth reveals what the mind has not fully learned. Pay attention to rhythm, not only individual sounds. English often highlights important words and reduces less important words. In "I should have called you earlier," the main stress may fall on called and earlier. Practice the sentence as a flow, rather than 6 separate pieces. Use walking self-talk. During a 10-minute walk, speak quietly about what you notice, what you remember, or what you plan. Movement can reduce self-consciousness and help language flow because your attention is not trapped on every sentence. For the first 2 minutes, describe the environment. For the next 3, tell a memory. For the next 3, explain a problem. For the final 2, make a plan. This creates structure without extra written preparation. Another method is the imaginary podcast. Pretend you are answering a question for listeners. Today, I want to talk about why people lose motivation. Speak for 3 minutes. Then ask yourself a follow-up. What is one practical solution? Speak again. The imaginary audience creates purpose while remaining safe. You can also become your own interviewer. Ask, what changed your mind about this? What lesson did you learn? What would you tell someone in the same situation? These questions produce more interesting English than describing objects forever. To avoid repeating the same vocabulary, choose a daily lens. One day, focus on reasons. Use because, since, the reason is, and that is why. Another day, focus on uncertainty. Use maybe, probably, I am not sure, and it seems. Another day, focus on contrast. Use but, although, however, and on the other hand. The lens guides your inner speech without turning it into a grammar lecture. When you catch yourself translating, do not become angry. Pause and ask, can I express the core idea with English I already know? Suppose the first language thought is complex. I wish I had not allowed their opinion to influence my decision. If that feels difficult, say, I listened to them too much. Their opinion changed my decision. I regret that. The simpler version keeps you inside English. Then, after the meaning is clear, learn the more natural sentence. I wish I had not let their opinion influence my decision. This is the right order, meaning first, upgrade second. A common mistake is to use inner English only for positive, controlled topics. Real thought includes irritation, confusion, uncertainty, and disagreement. Train those states too. I do not like how this was handled. I am confused by the instructions. I need them to be more specific. I am worried I may have misunderstood. I disagree, but I need to explain why calmly. If English is available only when you feel relaxed, it will disappear when emotion rises. By practicing emotional self-talk, you teach the language to remain present. You should also practice calming phrases, because anxiety directly affects retrieval. I do not need a perfect sentence. I can explain this in a simple way. I can pause. I can correct myself. The goal is communication. These are not motivational decorations. They are performance instructions. When your brain hears, I must not make a mistake, it monitors every word. Monitoring consumes working memory. When it hears, I can say it simply, the task becomes smaller. Create a daily question that follows you. What am I learning today? What am I avoiding? What made today different? Ask it several times and answer with new details. Repetition gives you fluency. Variation gives you depth. For example, what am I learning today? Morning. I am learning how to organize my time. Afternoon. I am learning that this task is more complicated than I expected. Evening. I am learning that I speak better when I do not rush. The same question becomes a frame for many experiences. Your inner voice can also practice storytelling. Choose one small event and retell it 3 times, first in 30 seconds, then in 1 minute, then in 2 minutes. Each version adds detail. 30 seconds. I missed the bus this morning because I left home late. 1 minute. Add what happened before and after. 2 minutes. Add thoughts, feelings, dialogue, and what you learned. This develops control over length. In real conversation, sometimes you need a quick answer, and sometimes you need a full explanation. Use perspective shifts. Tell the event as yourself, then tell it as another person. He saw me running toward the bus, but the driver had already closed the door. Then tell it as an outside observer. Perspective shifts force pronoun, tense, and vocabulary changes. You can use future simulation in the same way. Imagine tomorrow going well. I will wake up on time, finish the difficult task first, and call. Then imagine a problem. If the client delays the reply, I will. Contingency language prepares you for real decisions. The strongest inner English is not constant chatter. It is focused, repeated, and connected to action. 5 minutes of deliberate self-talk can be more valuable than 1 hour of passive listening. Use 3 daily windows, 1 in the morning for planning, 1 in the middle of the day for describing or solving a problem, 1 at night for replay and reflection. Each window can be 2 to 5 minutes. At first, your first language will interrupt. That is normal. Return to English without drama. The goal is not to win a war between languages. The goal is to make English a familiar place for thought. Over time, something changes. You notice a simple sentence appearing before translation. You hear an English reaction in your mind. You begin planning a response without building it in another language. These moments may be small, but they are evidence that the pathway is changing. Automaticity rarely announces itself with a dramatic feeling. It appears as less effort. A phrase arrives sooner. A pause becomes shorter. A thought feels available. Keep giving English meaningful work inside your mind, and the language will stop behaving like a visitor. It will begin to behave like a tool you own. Chapter 5. Connect listening directly to speaking. You cannot speak naturally from language you have only seen. English is sound before it is text. In real conversation, words arrive connected, reduced, stressed, and shaped by rhythm. If your brain knows only the written form, listening feels too fast, and speaking feels unnatural. The solution is not simply to listen more. Passive exposure can help familiarity, but automatic speaking requires active listening, noticing, predicting, repeating, retrieving, and adapting. Begin with short audio, not long content. Choose a clear clip of 20 to 40 seconds. Listen once for the main idea. Do not pause every sentence. Ask, what is happening? What does the speaker want? What is the emotion? Meaning comes first. Listen again and notice useful chunks. Not every unknown word. Look for phrases you could use. I did not realize. It turns out. The main reason. I was about to. Write no more than 3 or 4. Then listen again and repeat immediately after the speaker. This is called shadowing when you follow closely, but the name matters less than the process. Your goal is to copy the movement of the sentence, stress, linking, pauses, and emotion. Do not try to sound identical in every detail. You are training timing and coordination. The mouth learns how English travels. Take a sentence such as, I was going to call you, but I got caught up with work. If you read it word by word, it may sound heavy. In natural speech, going to may reduce, and caught up with work may flow as a chunk. Repeat the whole idea, not a row of separate words. After repeating, look away and say the sentence from memory. Then change it. I was going to exercise, but I got caught up with work. I was going to reply, but I got caught up with something else. Adaptation turns imitation into speaking. This 4-step loop is powerful. Understand, imitate, recall, personalize. If you only imitate, you may become good at copying without creating. If you only create, your speech may lack natural models. Combine both. Use prediction while listening. Pause before the end of a sentence and guess what may come next. I wanted to go, but your brain predicts I was tired, it started raining, or I had too much work. The actual answer may differ, but prediction activates language before it arrives. Prediction is a major part of fluent listening. Native listeners do not wait passively for every sound. They use context to anticipate meaning. When your prediction is close, the audio feels slower because your brain is already prepared. After a clip, give an oral summary without replaying it. Use simple language. The speaker planned to call someone but became busy with work. He is explaining why he did not call. Then add your opinion or a personal connection. That happens to me when I delay messages. This final step moves the content into your language system. Choose listening material near your level. If every sentence contains several unknown words, your attention will be consumed by decoding. A useful clip should challenge you, but still allow you to understand the main message. Difficulty is not proof of quality. Use the 90% rule as a rough guide. You should understand most of the general content, even if some phrases are new. Then the new language has a clear home. Repeated listening is not cheating. The first listen trains general comprehension. The second trains detail. The third trains sound. The fourth trains production. You are performing different tasks. Try the disappearing transcript. Listen with no text. Then read the transcript and check. Listen while following the text. Then hide the text and listen again. Finally, repeat and summarize. The transcript should be a temporary support, not a permanent dependency. Many learners watch hours of English with subtitles in their first language. This builds understanding of content, but it can keep the brain attached to translation. Use first language subtitles only when necessary to understand the situation. Then switch to English subtitles or no subtitles for training. English subtitles help connect sound to spelling, but they can also make you read instead of listen. Alternate. One round with subtitles, one round without. Train reduced speech. Native speakers often say did you in a connected way, or reduce want to, have to, and going to. You do not need to copy every casual reduction, but you must recognize them. Otherwise, familiar words sound unknown in conversation. Take what are you going to do? Practice the careful version first, then listen to natural versions. Notice that the sentence still carries the same structure, even when sounds connect. Your ear learns that spoken English is not incorrect written English. It is a sound system with its own patterns. Rhythm matters more than speed. A learner may speak quickly but stress every word equally, which makes the sentence difficult to understand. English usually gives more weight to content words such as main nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, while grammar words may be lighter. Say, I need to finish the report by Friday. Do not exaggerate forever, but exaggeration during training helps you feel the pattern. Then return to a natural level. Use backchaining for difficult phrases. Suppose, I would have done it differently, feels hard. Begin with differently, then done it differently, then have done it differently, then the full sentence. This gives the mouth control over the ending, where learners often lose rhythm. Record yourself repeating a short clip. Compare only one feature at a time. First, compare sentence stress. Next time, compare one difficult sound. Then compare pauses. Do not attack your pronunciation from 10 directions. Focused correction produces progress. Your accent does not need to disappear. The goal is intelligibility, rhythm, and comfort. An accent is not a failure, but unclear sound patterns can slow speaking because the mouth hesitates. Strengthen the patterns that affect communication. Listening should include conversational reactions. Notice how speakers show interest. Really? No way. That makes sense. I know what you mean. Exactly. That must have been difficult. These short responses keep conversation alive and give your brain time to prepare a longer answer. Practice them with emotion. Really can express surprise, doubt, or interest depending on tone. Language is not only words. Tone carries social meaning. Use dialogue shadowing. Choose a short conversation and perform both roles. First copy speaker A, then speaker B. After that, replace one role with your own responses. Original. Did you manage to finish the report? Not yet. I ran into a problem with the data. Personalized. Did you manage to finish the report? Not yet. I have completed the first part, but I am still checking the numbers. Now you are moving from listening to interaction. You can create response pauses. Listen to a question, pause the audio, and answer before hearing the original response. Then compare. Your answer does not need to match. The purpose is speed and relevance. If the question is, what do you usually do on weekends? Answer immediately. Then hear the speaker's answer. Notice any useful phrase. Repeat it. Answer again using part of the new language. This loop creates rapid growth because input is immediately converted into output. Listen for structure, not just vocabulary. In a story, notice how the speaker begins, moves to the problem, explains what happened, and ends. In an opinion, notice position, reason, example, and conclusion. These structures can become your speaking skeletons. Take notes with symbols or keywords instead of complete sentences. If you write every word, your attention leaves the sound. Write only enough to rebuild the message. Then speak from the notes. For example, missed train, rain, phone dead, stranger helped. Retell the story using those 4 points. Your version will be different, and that is good. You are reconstructing meaning. Use narrow listening. Choose one speaker, one show, or one topic for several days. Familiar voices and repeated vocabulary reduce difficulty. This allows you to notice patterns that disappear when content changes constantly. If you listen to 10 unrelated topics, you encounter 10 vocabulary systems. If you listen to 5 clips about productivity, common words and ideas repeat. Repetition creates depth. Then use topic transfer. After listening to a productivity clip, discuss your own habits. After a travel story, tell your own travel problem. After an interview about confidence, explain when you feel confident or nervous. The topic gives your brain a ready vocabulary environment. Singing can help rhythm and connected speech, but songs are not always natural conversation. Use them as pronunciation practice, not your only model. Dialogue, interviews, and clear spoken explanations provide more useful everyday patterns. Audiobooks can build listening stamina, but short sections are better for active speaking. Pause after one paragraph and summarize. Predict what happens next. Repeat one sentence with strong rhythm. Long passive listening and short active training serve different goals. Do not pause for every unknown word. Learn to tolerate partial understanding. Real conversation will not stop each time you meet unfamiliar language. Ask, can I still follow the main idea? If yes, continue. After listening, choose only high-value language. A phrase is valuable if it is common, flexible, and connected to your needs. I did not see that coming may be more useful than a rare descriptive word. Collect phrases you can imagine using this week. Create an input-to-output notebook. On the left, write the phrase. On the right, write your version. I ended up staying longer than expected. I ended up working until midnight. I have not made up my mind yet. I have not made up my mind about the course. The personalized side is the bridge to speaking. Review the phrase by covering the left side and using the situation on the right to retrieve it. Then say a new example. This turns notes into memory. Use a daily 10-minute listening to speaking routine. 2 minutes, listen for meaning. 2 minutes, study 3 useful chunks. 2 minutes, shadow. 2 minutes, recall without audio. 2 minutes, summarize and personalize. 10 focused minutes can change your speaking more than an hour of background English, because every stage requires the brain to act. As you improve, increase the difficulty by reducing pauses, using faster speakers, or choosing less familiar topics. But do not remove all support at once. Challenge should stretch the system, not break it. When you cannot understand, identify the reason. Is the vocabulary unknown? Is the grammar unfamiliar? Are the sounds connected? Is the speaker too fast? Is the topic unfamiliar? Different problems need different solutions. Unknown vocabulary requires learning. Connected speech requires repeated listening. An unfamiliar topic requires background knowledge. General panic requires easier material and gradual exposure. Be specific. My listening is bad is not a diagnosis. The final goal is a circular system. Listening gives you natural patterns. Speaking reveals what you cannot yet use. That gap guides your next listening. Then new input improves your next attempt. Input feeds output. Output tests input. Correction refines both. When this loop becomes daily, English stops entering one ear and disappearing. It begins to move through your voice. Chapter 6. Remove the fear that blocks automatic English. A nervous brain does not perform like a relaxed brain. You can know the language and still lose access to it when another person looks at you, when the phone rings, when a teacher asks a sudden question, or when a meeting becomes serious. The problem is not imaginary. Anxiety consumes working memory, and working memory is the same mental space you need to organize language. This is why you may speak well alone and struggle with people. Your English did not disappear. Part of your attention was redirected toward danger. Do I sound stupid? Are they judging me? What if I make a mistake? What if I do not understand? The brain cannot give full attention to communication while also running a threat monitoring system. The first step is to change the speaking goal. Do not enter a conversation trying to prove that your English is good. Enter trying to complete one communication task. Ask for information. Explain the problem. Share your opinion. Understand the next step. A task is concrete. Sound fluent is vague and impossible to measure. Before speaking, tell yourself, my job is to make the message clear. This instruction reduces unnecessary pressure. Use shorter first sentences. When nervous, learners often attempt one long sentence to prove ability. The sentence becomes overloaded and they lose control halfway through. Start with the core. Instead of, what I actually wanted to tell you was that because I was not able to receive the information at the correct time, therefore I could not. Say, I received the information late. Because of that, I could not finish the task on time. Two clear sentences are stronger than one collapsing sentence. Give yourself permission to pause. A pause is not empty failure. It is processing time. Use phrases such as, let me think for a moment. I want to explain this clearly. There are two parts to this. These phrases make the pause part of the conversation. Practice visible pauses while alone. Ask a question, wait 2 seconds, then answer calmly. Your body learns that silence does not mean disaster. Breathing matters because speech is physical. Anxiety makes breathing shallow and raises the voice. Before a difficult conversation, breathe out slowly. A longer exhale tells the nervous system that immediate danger is low. Then begin with a sentence you have practiced. Do not turn breathing into a ritual you must perform perfectly. One slow exhale and a clear first sentence are enough. Prepare opening lines for high-pressure situations. For a meeting, I would like to clarify one point. For a phone call, I am calling about. For a request, could you help me with? For disagreement, I understand the concern, but I see it differently. A reliable opening helps your brain enter the interaction. Once movement begins, retrieval often improves. Use graded exposure. Do not jump from speaking alone to giving a presentation to 50 people and call the panic proof that you cannot speak. Build levels. Level 1, speak alone. Level 2, record a voice message and listen once. Level 3, send a short voice message to someone safe. Level 4, have a 5-minute conversation with a supportive person. Level 5, ask a stranger one simple question. Level 6, join a small group. Level 7, give a prepared explanation or presentation. Move upward gradually. Repeat a level until anxiety becomes manageable, not until it becomes 0. Waiting for 0 fear can become another form of avoidance. After each exposure, evaluate facts. What did you successfully communicate? Where did you pause? Which phrase was missing? What did the other person actually do? Do not evaluate with, it was terrible. That is not data. Say, I explained the main problem. I forgot the word refund, so I described it. I spoke too quietly. Next time I will practice the first 2 sentences. Specific feedback creates improvement. Your brain learns from the meaning you give an experience. If every imperfect conversation becomes evidence that you are hopeless, fear grows. If it becomes a training repetition with one clear lesson, skill grows. Do not replay every mistake for hours. Review once, extract the lesson, and close the file. Build a recovery routine for moments when you go blank. First, stop pushing. Second, use a repair phrase. Third, return to the simplest version of the idea. I lost the word for a second. What I mean is, the payment went to the wrong account. The simple core restores direction. If you do not understand someone, do not pretend. Pretending creates more anxiety because the conversation continues on false information. Use clarification language. Could you say that again more slowly? I understood the first part, but not the last part. Do you mean that the meeting has been moved? Could you write the number down? Let me repeat it to make sure I understood. These are signs of communication skill, not weakness. Train clarification aloud before you need it. Under stress, you will use what is familiar. Many learners fear their accent more than actual misunderstanding. Ask a practical question. Can the listener understand the words? If yes, the accent is not the emergency your mind claims. Work on pronunciation systematically, but do not postpone speaking until you sound native. Native-like pronunciation is not a requirement for clear, intelligent communication. Chasing it as a condition for speaking can waste years. Focus on high-impact pronunciation, word stress, sentence stress, final consonants, and sounds that change meaning in your context. Record short sentences and compare. Improvement should serve clarity. Fear also grows when you believe every listener is evaluating you. Most people are focused on the message, their own response, or their own worries. Some may notice your mistakes. That is not the same as being condemned by them. Even if someone judges your English, their judgment does not change the training process. You still need repetitions. Avoiding speech to avoid judgment guarantees slower progress. Use deliberate imperfection. In a safe practice session, speak without correcting small mistakes. The purpose is to prove to your nervous system that communication can survive imperfection. Then repeat the same answer with better accuracy. This separates fluency training from accuracy training. Both matter, but they cannot control the same moment equally. During fluency practice, prioritize continuity. During accuracy practice, slow down and correct. During real conversation, prioritize meaning and correct only when the mistake affects understanding. This clear rule prevents constant internal conflict. Prepare for common pressure points. Numbers, dates, names, addresses, and technical terms can create extra anxiety. Practice saying your phone number, email address, work role, location, schedule, and important figures. Spell difficult names. Confirm numbers aloud. This is 15, not 50. The meeting is on Thursday, the 6th of August. My email begins with, these small skills create real-world confidence. Use scenario loops. Practice the same situation with 3 different outcomes. Suppose you are requesting a refund. Outcome 1, they agree. Outcome 2, they ask for proof. Outcome 3, they refuse. Prepare language for each. Thank you. When should I expect the payment? Yes, I have the transaction receipt. Could you explain the reason for the refusal? This reduces dependence on one expected script. Another major fear is interruption. Learners may lose their entire sentence when another person speaks. Practice returning to your point. As I was saying, let me finish this point. The main thing I wanted to explain is, to return to the original question, these phrases restore the path. Practice being interrupted during a conversation with a friend, or simulate it by stopping yourself, counting to 3, and continuing. Real fluency includes recovery. Group conversations require entry phrases. You do not need to wait for perfect silence. Use, "Can I add something?" That reminds me of, "I agree with that," especially, "I had a similar experience." These phrases connect your contribution to what is already happening. To leave a conversation, use closing phrases. "It was good talking to you. I need to get back to work. Let us continue this later." Knowing how to exit reduces the feeling of being trapped. Fear is lower when the brain knows how to enter, continue, repair, and leave. Use confidence evidence, not confidence fantasy. Keep a brief record of successful actions. Asked a question in English. Completed a phone call. Explained a problem. Spoke for 5 minutes without translation. The record proves that ability is growing. Do not write "I am fluent" if you do not believe it. Write facts your brain cannot easily argue with. Confidence follows evidence. You can also use pre-conversation priming. 5 minutes before speaking, Talk aloud about the likely topic. Use relevant vocabulary. If the meeting is about deadlines, say, "We are behind schedule. The main reason is, we need to decide." This activates the network and reduces cold start difficulty. Athletes warm up the body. Speakers can warm up language. During the conversation, listen to the other person instead of monitoring yourself. Self-monitoring sounds like, "How is my grammar? What is my face doing? Did that sound strange?" External attention sounds like, "What are they asking? What information do they need? What is the key point?" Move attention outward. Communication happens between people, not inside your self-evaluation. When a mistake happens, correct it lightly. Sorry, I mean I have gone there twice. Then continue. Do not apologize for your English every 3 sentences. Excessive apology makes the mistake larger and interrupts the relationship. Correct, continue, and let the conversation breathe. Some situations require accuracy, such as legal, medical, financial, or safety communication. In those cases, slow down, confirm details, write important information, and ask the other person to repeat. Fluency does not mean speed at the expense of correctness. In ordinary conversation, however, allow natural imperfection. Create a pressure practice once a week. Record a 3-minute answer with no restart. Choose a random question. Give yourself 10 seconds to prepare. Then speak. Watch or listen only once and note 3 things: 1 strength, 1 language gap, and 1 delivery improvement. Do not record 10 times chasing perfection. 1 take trains performance. Repeated retakes train avoidance of imperfect reality. You can increase pressure gradually by standing up, using a timer, speaking to camera, or asking someone to listen. Each condition adds load. Afterward, repeat the answer 1 more time using the lesson. The second attempt turns feedback into action immediately. Remember that automatic English is not English without emotion. It is English that remains usable while emotion exists. You may still feel nervous. Your hands may feel cold. Your heart may beat faster. The skill is continuing despite the signal. Say, "I am nervous," and I can still explain 1 sentence at a time. That sentence is realistic and useful. Your nervous system changes through safe experiences, not arguments. Each time you speak, survive, and communicate, the brain updates its prediction. The situation becomes less unknown. The pathway becomes easier to access. Courage in language learning is not speaking without fear. It is giving the brain enough successful repetitions that fear no longer controls the microphone. Chapter 7. Build the daily system that makes English automatic. Automatic English is not created by one perfect method used once. It is created by a system that trains the right skills, often enough for the brain to adapt. The system must be simple enough to repeat, specific enough to measure, and flexible enough to survive busy days. If your plan requires 2 free hours, ideal motivation, complete silence, and endless energy, it is not a serious plan, it is a fantasy. Begin with a minimum daily session of 20 minutes. You can do more, but 20 minutes is the floor. Divide it into 4 parts: direct thinking, pattern reflexes, listening to speaking, and free retrieval. For 5 minutes, describe your real life in English. What are you doing? What happened? What do you need? What are you feeling? What will you do next? For 5 minutes, practice 2 sentence patterns. Produce several personal examples, questions, negatives, and time changes. For 5 minutes, listen to a short clip, shadow useful phrases, and personalize them. For 5 minutes, answer a random question or tell a short story without notes. This routine trains meaning, structure, sound, memory, and pressure in one compact system. On busy days, use the 5-minute emergency version: 1 minute of self-talk, 1 minute of pattern repetition, 1 minute of listening, 1 minute of recall, 1 minute of free speaking. A small session protects the habit. You are teaching the brain that English training continues, even when life becomes difficult. Consistency is not doing the maximum every day. Consistency is refusing to disappear. Build a weekly focus. Trying to improve everything at once creates weak attention. Choose one major focus for 7 days. Week 1 might be direct thinking. Week 2 might be sentence patterns. Week 3 might be listening and rhythm. Week 4 might be speaking under pressure. You still use the full routine, but one area receives extra attention. For a direct thinking week, create English windows during your morning, work, and evening. For a pattern week, select 10 high-value frames and use them repeatedly. For a listening week, work deeply with one speaker or topic. For a pressure week, add timed answers and real conversations. This focus allows the brain to notice change. Use a 30-day cycle. During days 1 to 7, build awareness and basic routines. During days 8 to 14, increase retrieval speed. During days 15 to 21, add conversation pressure. During days 22 to 30, integrate everything into longer speaking. On the first day, record a 2-minute answer to the question, "Why do I want to speak English automatically?" Do not prepare, save the recording. On day 30, answer the same question again. Compare pauses, sentence length, clarity, confidence, and recovery. Do not compare accents only. Look for reduced effort. Progress is often invisible from day to day and obvious across a month. Create a small scorecard. After each session, mark 4 items. I spoke without reading. I retrieved patterns from memory. I repeated natural audio. I continued after mistakes. A simple yes or no is enough. Do not build a complicated tracking system that becomes another hobby. The scorecard exists to reveal whether training occurred. Measure behaviors you control. You cannot command yourself to be fluent today. You can speak for 10 minutes, retrieve 20 sentences, shadow 1 clip, and complete 1 conversation. Fluency is an outcome. Training actions are inputs. Use a mistake bank. After speaking, write only recurring or important errors. Do not collect every imperfection. Choose 1 grammar error, 1 missing phrase, and 1 pronunciation issue. For example, grammar, he go, instead of he goes. Missing phrase, I have not had a chance to. Pronunciation, word stress in development. During the next session, practice each in several meaningful sentences, then return them to real speaking. The mistake bank turns errors into a curriculum designed by your own performance. Review old mistakes weekly. If an error no longer appears, remove it. If it remains, simplify the training. Perhaps you understand the rule but have not automated the form. Create a pattern drill. He works, she works, my brother works, the system works. Then place it into a story. Accuracy becomes automatic through correct repetition in context, not through shame. Build a phrase bank from your actual conversations. Every time you struggle to express something important, write the idea afterward. Find a natural English version. Practice it. Use it again. Suppose you wanted to say, I do not want to rush into a decision. Learn the phrase. Create examples. I do not want to rush into a purchase. We should not rush into an agreement. Why are they rushing into this? The phrase is valuable because your life asked for it. This is more efficient than collecting beautiful phrases you never need. Set a vocabulary limit. Learn fewer items and activate them deeply. 5 useful chunks per day can become more than 100 active chunks in a month, even with review days. 25 random words per day often become recognition without speech. For each new chunk, perform 4 actions. Understand it, say it naturally, personalize it, and retrieve it later. Without retrieval, learning remains temporary. Use spaced review. Review new phrases the same day, the next day, 3 days later, 1 week later, and 2 weeks later. Each review should require production. Look at the meaning or situation and say the phrase. Do not only reread lists. Create theme days if they help. Monday, work and study. Tuesday, daily life. Wednesday, opinions. Thursday, stories. Friday, problem solving. Saturday, social conversation. Sunday, review and free speaking. Themes prevent random practice and create useful repetition. However, do not let the schedule become rigid. If a real event gives you better material, use it. A difficult phone call, a meeting, a mistake, or an interesting conversation can become the day's English lesson. Real life provides emotional memory, which is powerful. Use the before, during, after system for important situations. Before, predict the conversation, warm up vocabulary, and practice the opening. During, focus on the task, use repair phrases, and keep sentences clear. After, record what worked, identify one gap, and create a better sentence. This system transforms every interaction into training. Find a speaking partner or tutor if possible, but define the practice. Casual conversation is useful, yet focused tasks produce faster improvement. Ask for a 3-minute story, a role play, a timed opinion, or correction of one target pattern. Do not ask for correction of every mistake during every sentence. That can destroy flow. Agree on correction rules. For example, your partner notes recurring errors and discusses them after you finish. If you do not have a partner, use voice notes. Record a question, wait, and answer it later. Create a chain of messages as if 2 people were speaking. Technology cannot replace all human interaction, but it can create repeated output. You can also use artificial conversation prompts, but do not become dependent on reading them. Read the prompt once, hide it, and respond. The skill is speaking, not looking prepared. Build longer speaking gradually. Week 1, 1-minute answers. Week 2, 2-minute answers. Week 3, 3-minute stories. Week 4, 5-minute explanations. Longer speech requires organization and stamina, but duration should grow after basic control. Use a simple structure for long answers. Point, reason, example, reflection. Point. I think daily speaking is more important than occasional long study. Reason. The brain needs frequent retrieval. Example. When I practiced only on weekends, I forgot phrases during the week. Reflection. Now I prefer shorter sessions because they keep English active. This 4-part structure can support almost any topic. Once a week, complete a fluency challenge. Choose one topic and speak about it in 3 rounds. Round 1, 1 minute, simple and fast. Round 2, 2 minutes, add reasons and examples. Round 3, 3 minutes, include a story, contrast, or future plan. Notice how repetition changes performance. Ideas become organized, patterns arrive sooner, pronunciation relaxes. This is the feeling of automaticity being built. Do not avoid repeating topics. Repetition is not a lack of creativity. It is how the brain moves language from effortful construction to fluent access. Athletes repeat movements. Musicians repeat scales. Speakers repeat messages. Use variation after stability. First repeat the same story. Then change the person, time, result, or emotion. A story about missing a bus can become missing a flight, arriving late for work, or helping someone else who was late. The language network expands. Protect sleep. Memory consolidation happens after practice. A tired brain struggles with attention, retrieval, and emotional control. Studying late into the night is not always discipline. Sometimes it is poor planning. A shorter session followed by enough sleep may produce better learning than exhausted repetition. Movement helps too. Walking while speaking can improve energy and reduce self-consciousness. Exercise supports general brain health, but do not turn language learning into a complicated health project. Use practical movement. Walk and describe, stretch and repeat, pace while rehearsing. Reduce passive overload. Watching endless English videos can create the feeling of productivity without enough output. Use a ratio. For every 10 minutes of focused input, produce at least 5 minutes of speaking, summarizing, shadowing, or retrieval. The exact ratio can change, but output must exist. Stop switching methods every few days. Novelty creates excitement, but automaticity requires repetition. Choose a core system and follow it for at least 30 days before judging it. You can adjust details, but do not abandon the process, because the first week feels ordinary. Brain change often feels boring while it is happening. Expect plateaus. At first, improvement may be obvious because you learn new techniques. Then progress feels slower. During a plateau, check the training. Are you still retrieving or only reviewing? Are you speaking under pressure or only alone? Are you repeating the same easy material or adding manageable challenge? Are you correcting recurring errors? A plateau may mean the brain needs a stronger signal, not a completely new plan. Increase one variable at a time. Add faster audio, longer answers, less preparation, or a new conversation partner. Do not increase everything simultaneously. Use monthly themes based on your life. 1 month for workplace English, 1 month for storytelling, 1 month for social conversation, 1 month for presentations. A theme creates vocabulary repetition and visible purpose. Within workplace English, practice deadlines, meetings, requests, updates, problems, and decisions. The same phrases will appear repeatedly, which is exactly what automaticity needs. Create an identity rule. I am a person who uses English every day. This is not empty motivation. Identity simplifies decisions. You do not ask whether you feel inspired. You ask what today's version of the habit looks like. Some days it is 20 minutes. Some days it is 5 minutes. Some days it is a real conversation. But the identity remains active. Be honest about avoidance. Researching the best method can become a way to avoid speaking. Organizing notes can become a way to avoid retrieval. Watching fluent people can become a way to avoid hearing your own voice. Ask, did I produce English today? If the answer is no, the system did not train speaking. Do not wait to feel confident before increasing output. Confidence is often the result of familiar action. The first recordings may sound uncomfortable. The first conversations may feel slow. The first attempts at thinking in English may feel artificial. That discomfort is not proof that the method is wrong. It is the sensation of the brain doing unfamiliar work. Use an 80% rule for moving forward. When a pattern feels comfortable in most examples, begin using it in freer speech. Do not wait for perfect control. Real use completes the learning. Similarly, when a topic feels easy, add a new angle. Explain the opposite view, tell a related story, compare past and present, predict the future. Complexity should grow from a stable base. At the end of every week, answer 4 questions aloud. What became easier? Where did I still freeze? Which phrases became useful? What will I train next week? Your answers should guide the next cycle. Suppose you say, it became easier to describe my day, but I still freeze when someone asks for my opinion. The phrase, the main reason is, became useful. Next week, I will train opinion structures. That is intelligent adaptation. Do not let one bad day define the week. Performance changes with sleep, stress, topic, and energy. Look for trends, not isolated moments. A fluent speaker can have a difficult conversation. A learner can have an excellent one. Both are single data points. Your goal is a rising average. Now imagine 30 days of this system. You have described your life directly in English hundreds of times. You have repeated useful sentence frames across many topics. You have listened to natural speech and turned it into your own sentences. You have answered questions under time limits. You have survived mistakes, blanks, and awkward pauses. You have reviewed the gaps that actually appeared. Your brain has received a clear message. English is not information to store for later. English is a tool that must be available now. After 3 months, the effect becomes stronger. Common phrases require less effort. You begin answers sooner. You notice that you can listen and prepare a response at the same time. You recover from missing words without panic. You still make mistakes, but mistakes no longer stop the system. This is what automatic English looks like in real life. It does not mean every sentence is perfect. It does not mean you never search for a word. It does not mean you sound exactly like someone born in another country. It means common language arrives quickly enough for communication. It means your attention can stay on the idea. It means you trust yourself to continue. Do not measure your English only by how much you know. Measure it by how reliably you can use what you know. A small vocabulary with fast access can create strong conversation. A large vocabulary with weak access can remain silent. Train what you want to perform. Speak before the sentence feels perfect. Repeat what you want to become easy. Use English in the situations where you want English to exist. Your brain is always learning from your behavior. Every day, it studies your habits and becomes more efficient at repeating them. When you translate every thought, it learns translation. When you avoid speaking, it learns avoidance. When you stop after a mistake, it learns that mistakes are danger. But when you connect meaning directly to English, retrieve patterns from memory, imitate natural sound, answer under pressure, repair calmly, and return the next day, it learns something different. It learns that English is usable, then familiar, then fast, then, little by little, automatic. A useful way to make this system real is to follow one complete training week and then repeat the structure with new material. On the first day, choose one ordinary part of your life and build direct English around it. It could be your morning, your work, your studies, your family responsibilities, or your evening routine. Speak about it for 5 minutes without notes. When you cannot find a word, describe it. When you make a mistake, continue. Afterward, identify 5 sentences you needed but could not produce easily. Learn natural versions of those sentences and say each one in 3 variations. Suppose you struggled to explain that you delayed a task because you were waiting for information. Your useful sentences might be, I had to put the task on hold. I was waiting for the final details. I could not move forward without confirmation. The delay was outside my control, and I should have followed up earlier. These phrases form a practical network. On the same day, tell the story again and use the new language. On the second day, choose 5 sentence patterns and create a reflex session. Use I have been trying to. The main reason is, what I find difficult is, I used to, but now, and the next thing I need to do is, produce at least 5 personal examples for each. Do not write complete answers first. Look at the opening, hide it, and speak. Then combine the patterns. I have been trying to speak more regularly. The main reason is that I want English to feel natural. What I find difficult is answering unexpected questions. I used to avoid recording myself, but now I do it several times a week. The next thing I need to do is speak with more people. 5 frames have now become one coherent answer. On the third day, choose a short clip connected to your goals. If you need workplace English, use a meeting, interview, or professional explanation. If you need social English, use a natural conversation. If you need academic English, Use a short educational discussion. Listen for meaning, copy 3 chunks, recall them, personalize them, and give a summary. Do not collect 10 phrases. 3 deeply trained phrases are enough. The question is whether they can leave your mouth later without the clip. On the 4th day, train speed. Prepare 20 simple questions and answer each within 3 seconds. Use questions such as, what are you working on? What did you do yesterday? What are you looking forward to? What is something you need to improve? What makes a good friend? Would you rather work alone or with a team? Keep each first answer to 1 sentence. After all 20, choose 5 and expand them for 1 minute each. This gives you both fast entry and longer development. On the 5th day, practice pressure and repair. Record a 3-minute response with no restart. Deliberately include a topic that is slightly difficult. Each time you hesitate, use a repair phrase instead of stopping. Let me put that another way. I do not know the exact word, but the main point is, your success is not the absence of hesitation. Your success is recovery. Listen to the recording once. Notice where your message became unclear. Not every small grammar mistake. Re-record 1 final version and move on. On the 6th day, use English with another person or create the closest available simulation. Have a short call, send voice messages, join an online exchange, speak with a tutor, or perform both sides of a dialogue. Give the interaction a mission. Learn 1 thing about the other person. Explain 1 recent event. Ask 3 follow-up questions. Clarify 1 point. End the conversation naturally. A mission keeps you focused on communication rather than self-judgment. On the 7th day, review through performance. Do not spend the entire session rereading notes. Cover the notes and use the week's language in a 5-minute talk. Retell 1 event, explain 1 opinion, and describe 1 plan. Then check which phrases appeared naturally. Those phrases are moving toward active memory. The phrases that did not appear need another cycle. This is not failure. Memory is selective. Repetition tells the brain what deserves priority. You can repeat this weekly structure for months while changing the material. The process remains stable, which reduces decision fatigue. The content remains personal, which prevents boredom. Another important principle is to keep a difference between practice English and performance English. Practice English is where you deliberately stretch. You test new grammar, difficult phrases, and longer answers. You may sound slower because you are building skill. Performance English is what you use when the real task matters. There, choose reliable language. Keep the message clear. Do not force 5 new expressions into an important call merely to prove you learned them. Athletes do not experiment with every new technique during a final match. They practice it until it becomes dependable. You should also learn to recognize 3 stages of a new phrase. In the first stage, you understand the phrase when you see or hear it. In the second stage, you can produce it with a prompt and enough time. In the third stage, it appears naturally in a relevant situation. Most learners celebrate stage 1 and then wonder why speaking remains slow. Your training must move language through all 3 stages. Take, I have not got around to it yet. At stage 1, you understand that the task has not been done. At stage 2, someone asks, did you fix the shelf? And you remember the phrase after a pause. At stage 3, a friend asks about any delayed task, and the phrase appears immediately. Stage 3 is automatic use. It requires repeated stage 2 retrieval in varied situations. Be patient with grammar automaticity. You may understand a grammar rule completely and still make mistakes while speaking. This does not prove that you need another explanation. It may prove that you need controlled production. Suppose you repeatedly confuse the present perfect and past simple. Build a contrast with real life. I visited Lahore last year. I have visited Lahore 3 times. I finished the report yesterday. I have finished the report, so you can check it now. Say many paired examples until the time relationship feels familiar, then use the forms in a story and a conversation. Rules guide practice, but practice creates speed. For articles, prepositions, and small grammar words, collect complete phrases rather than debating each word in isolation. Learn on the way, at the end of the day, in a meeting, go to work, at work, and from time to time as sound units. Frequent language is often retrieved as chunks. You will still need grammar study, but study should lead to production within the same session. Learn one point, create personal examples, ask and answer questions, and use it in a short talk. Never allow grammar to remain only on paper. The same rule applies to pronunciation. Do not spend a week producing one isolated sound and never place it into speech. Practice the sound in words, the words in phrases, and the phrases in sentences. Then tell a short story containing them. Skill must reconnect with communication. You may be tempted to count the number of hours you study. Hours can be misleading. 1 hour of distracted video watching may create less change than 15 minutes of focused retrieval. Track meaningful repetitions. How many questions did you answer? How many phrases did you retrieve without looking? How many minutes did you speak continuously? How many times did you recover after going blank? How many real interactions did you complete? These numbers are closer to the skill you want. Quality matters too. 10 careless repetitions of an incorrect phrase can strengthen the wrong pattern. Use a reliable model, check important language, and then repeat accurately. When uncertain, choose simpler English you know, rather than inventing complicated forms. At the same time, do not use accuracy as an excuse to avoid output. The correct balance is speak, notice, check, repeat, use again. Speak to reveal the gap. Notice the exact problem. Check a reliable model. Repeat the corrected form. Use it later in a new context. That 5-step cycle can repair almost any recurring weakness. There will be days when English feels worse. You may forget easy words or struggle with sentences that were simple yesterday. Learning is not a straight line. Memory access changes with fatigue, stress, attention, and context. Do not rebuild your entire method because of one poor session. Complete the minimum, note the condition, and return tomorrow. There will also be days when English suddenly flows. Enjoy them, but do not assume the work is finished. A good performance shows what the system can do under favorable conditions. Continue until that level becomes more reliable. Reliability is more important than occasional brilliance. As your English grows, replace vague goals with performance goals. Improve speaking is too broad. Better goals are: give a 2-minute update without notes, explain a customer problem clearly, tell a story using past tenses, join a group discussion twice, or complete a phone call without switching languages. A performance goal tells you exactly what to practice. Break the goal into components. To give a work update, you may need language for completed tasks, current progress, blockers, and next steps. Create patterns for each. I have completed. I am currently working on. The main issue is. I am waiting for. By tomorrow, I expect to. Then simulate the update repeatedly with changing details. This is targeted automaticity. You are training the exact route you want to use. When one situation becomes comfortable, transfer the language. The main issue is works in work, travel, relationships, technology, and learning. I am waiting for works with people, decisions, deliveries, and information. Transfer turns specific practice into general fluency. Finally, protect the emotional meaning of your goal. Do not reduce English to a daily punishment. Remember what automatic speaking will allow you to do. Participate instead of watching silently. Explain your ideas without losing them in translation. Handle problems independently. Build relationships across languages. Learn from more people. Work with greater confidence. These outcomes matter, but they are built from ordinary sessions that nobody sees. The 5-minute self-talk. The repeated pattern. The clip played one more time. The answer recorded despite discomfort. The conversation you entered before you felt ready. Automaticity is the visible result of invisible repetitions. Start with one sentence about this moment. Say where you are. Say what you are doing. Say why you are here. Say what you will practice today. Do not translate the perfect answer. Use the English that is available. That is not a small beginning. That is the exact movement that rewires the brain.